Messages of sorrow and support from all over the country still pouring in following the passing of former Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu yesterday. Mourners gathered to pay their last respects both in Soweto and Cape Town, and in fact our reporters are within those communities. Athi Mtongana is just outside the family home, but first we start with Linda Mnisi, who's at the iconic Vilakazi Street in Soweto. And Linda, already we're seeing several neighbors come forward to also mark this moment in history, some of them sharing with you some of the anecdotes, I beg your pardon, of moments they've shared with this icon.
Yes, absolutely, Ayanda. What you're seeing right now on your screen are, of course, a couple of mourners that have just arrived to, of course, pay their last respect and place those flowers just next to his home. We saw them arriving earlier, observing that moment of silence, also doing a short prayer as, of course, just before they laid those flowers. These are the scenes that we're expecting will continue to play out throughout the week. You'll remember it started yesterday when a couple of those arrived yesterday. There's a picture also there just on the ground that has been laid next to the burning candles. But I just want to bring in another neighbor. His name is Ntate Shadrach Mudau. Ntate Shadrach, thank you so much for your time. I want us to reflect as a neighbor. We're seeing many of the neighbors coming out to remember Ntate Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Ke batla wena o ntlhalosetse mohlomong gore as a neighbor no mo tseba a le motho o leng yang.
He was a humble man, but firstly I should say my sincere condolences to Tutu's family and the whole of us and the world, and remembering people like Barack Obama, who actually met with him, and therefore now we actually have lost a giant, a first Archbishop in South Africa after apartheid era, and we mourn him. We really are talking with authority because I was actually used to the family. I mean, even if they had something, a party, they would actually invite us with my wife. Then we'll really enjoy with them. And therefore, he was a father figure. And he's actually the man who actually came with this a gravy train. Today we refer that as corruption. And therefore now, definitely, he actually also benefited in the sense that he could have actually come back and stay wherever he wanted to, but he actually opted to stay with us in what is popularly known as Beverly Hills of Soweto, and in a famous street in the whole world, which he contributed for the rest of this street because he was awarded the Nobel Peace Laureate, and he deserves it. And because he was always with smiles, he would giggle. I remember he would say, "Hey, you're beautiful," and therefore, which was a sign of an acknowledgement.
A lot of people remember him for his contribution towards fighting the apartheid government and making sure that there's a smooth transition into democracy here in South Africa. But as community members, talk to us about his contribution to the growth of this community. You speak to us about how he opted to remain here in Soweto when he could have stayed in Houghton. I remember he was offered a house in Houghton, but he declined. Talk to us then about his contribution to this very same community.
He was an equal to each and every one. You must bear in mind when we actually forcefully removed from places like Soweto Town, wherever, and brought to what we call Southwestern Township, Soweto. And he actually inspired us, and he actually encouraged education. Incidentally, I actually happened to have worked with his son, who has Trevor Tutu, who has got an MSc from London, and he got educated in London. And they were also everybody, including the wife, Leah. She is actually our mother, and therefore his contribution, he contributed through the church, but being at the level of just an ordinary person. and he was an equal to all of us.
Yeah.
And
sorry then, Dr. Shadrach. Talk to us then about, as we wrap up, what his passing means to you and to your family.
His passing to us means a lot. We have to actually be so disciplined, because if we don't do that, we're definitely not respecting him. Yeah. We could say to him, to the family, say, he must rest in peace, but I mean, he won't be at peace. But I think for his contribution, we're just about to actually hear about the Bosasa, the outcomes, and to the extent that Judge Zondo, they actually on holiday, but because they are working extensively, and to actually bring this to an end, so that we must know who were those culprits who messed up this beautiful South Africa. We love it.
All right. Thank you so much. That's Ntate Shadrach Mudaude Ayanda.
My condolences to the family.
All right, Ntate Shadrach, speaking to us about really the kind of man that the Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu was to this community, saying that him and his wife actually used to visit the home of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, speaking there about him talking truth to power when he makes reference to, of course, that gravy train which has become known as corruption. Also speaking at length about his contribution really in this particular community. You'll remember my question to him, Ayanda, was, he's known for his contribution towards the country really in ensuring that there was peace and a smooth transition into democracy, but the kind of contribution that he made in this community was also about treating people equally.
Mnisi live to us there at Vilakazi Street, the iconic Vilakazi Street, might I add, in Soweto. But, of course, we're watching the story from the various vantage points at which it emerges. Athi Mtongana is outside the family home in Cape Town. And, Athi, after this announcement that the funeral is going to take place officially now on Saturday, the 1st of January, we're seeing an increase in security where you're at.
That's correct, Ayanda. Yesterday already we heard reports that the funeral will indeed be on Saturday. That's probably according to the wishes of the late Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu, who wished that his funeral proceedings or the days leading up to his funeral would not take longer than 7 days. He wanted the country to sort of get it over and done with. Many of the messages that have been pouring in are not just messages of sadness, messages of people actually celebrating the legacy that he has left behind. I want to talk to you then about those details leading up to the 1st of January 2022 for the funeral at the St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town at around 10 a.m. I want my colleague to pan and show you what you actually spoke to, the tighter security that we're noticing this morning. Yesterday, police were able to cordon off this entire area, but we can see that this morning what they've done is to actually make this kind of a barricade, preventing members of the public perhaps from coming any closer to the family home. So the bells of the St. George's Cathedral will be rung daily for 10 minutes at midday from Monday to Friday. The Archbishop of Cape Town, Thabo Makgoba, has asked that whoever hears those bells takes a moment to pause on their busy schedule for a moment in tribute of the late Arch. And then on Wednesday, that memorial service at the capital city. And then on Thursday, the Archbishop Tutu IP Trust, together with the Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation, will host an intimate night with family and friends of the Arch, as well as Mama Leah. And on Friday he will lie in state, and then of course on Saturday that funeral at the St. George's Cathedral. So that's basically the plan for now, Ayanda. They have been working extensively on these details, and of course today we're expecting more visits, as we saw yesterday. Dr. Mampela Rampela was here the entire day yesterday as a friend and a close friend of the family, as well as the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. She's representing the state, and of course she also had a personal relationship with the late Arch, so they will be providing infrastructure on behalf of the state here outside the family home, as well as at the St. George's Cathedral where the funeral is going to take place. Now, this morning we're also expecting some other visits from His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa. The time has not yet been confirmed. We're also expecting Mandla Mandela to come and visit the Tutu family. We're also expecting the humanitarian aid organization Gift of the Giver CEO to visit the Tutu family. Many people also, including the Mayor of Cape Town at 10 a.m., Jordan Hill-Lewis, to come and pay their last respects to the Tutu family that is currently mourning the death of their father, grandfather and husband to Mama Leah. So what I can tell you about who's inside, though, we were told that all of the Archer's children are here except for Mpho, who's still on the way. She'll probably land in South Africa tomorrow, but most of his children are here, including his grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Absolutely. We get a sense that it's a busy schedule ahead as the rest of the country and the world digest news of the passing of this giant. Certainly a moment in history as we reckon with the leaders who are now no longer with us. Athi Mtongana, thanks very much indeed for that. Live to us there from outside the Tutu family home in Cape Town.